God's voice requires immediate attention because it is never spoken without purpose or intention. When God speaks, it's not for casual reflection or delayed action. It's to guide, protect, and prepare you for what lies ahead. His words carry divine authority, wisdom, and clarity, and they often come at critical moments when your next steps hold significant consequences. God's voice interrupts your routine for a reason, calling you to pause, listen, and respond. Ignoring or delaying obedience to his instruction can cause you to miss opportunities, blessings, or warnings meant to safeguard your journey. God's timing is perfect, and his voice often aligns with windows of divine opportunity that may not come again. When he speaks, it is to provide you with clarity in confusion, direction in uncertainty, and reassurance in fear. His voice demands your focus because it contains the answers to questions you've been asking, solutions to problems you've been facing, and the wisdom to avoid pitfalls you may not yet see. Listening to God requires not just hearing, but actively engaging, being ready to pivot or adjust your plans to align with his purpose. Urgency signals a call to alignment, because when God speaks with immediacy, it's often a divine indicator that something in your life needs to come into order with his will. His urgent message is not meant to alarm you, but to awaken you, to draw your attention to areas where you may have strayed or become complacent. This urgency is a signal that there is a timing in God's plan that requires your active participation, and alignment is necessary to ensure you don't miss it. When God calls you to align, it often means he's preparing to shift something significant, whether it's a breakthrough, an opportunity, or a moment of transformation. And he wants you to be in the right position spiritually, emotionally, and physically to receive it. Misalignment can cause delays, confusion, or unnecessary struggles. So his urgency is his way of redirecting you before the window of opportunity passes. Alignment means coming into agreement with his purposes, surrendering your plans, and allowing him to guide your steps so that you're walking in sync with his divine rhythm. When God speaks urgently, it's a call to examine your priorities, adjust your focus, and realign your heart with his. Revelation prepares you for transition because God never reveals something without a purpose tied to your future. When he unveils a truth, a direction, or a calling, is often to prepare you for a shift, a moment when you're moving from one season to another or stepping into a new level of responsibility, growth, or blessing. His revelation is like a roadmap, giving you insight into what lies ahead so you can walk into it with faith and confidence. Transitions often bring challenges, unknowns, and opportunities for growth. And God uses revelation to equip you spiritually, mentally, and emotionally for what is to come. It is through this divine insight that he helps you leave behind what no longer serves you, whether it's habits, relationships, or mindsets that could hinder your progress. Revelation also brings clarity, cutting through the noise of uncertainty and providing you with the wisdom to navigate the changes ahead. God's revelations are not always easy to grasp immediately. They require prayer, discernment, and often a willingness to act in faith before the full picture is revealed. Through this process, he strengthens your trust in him and ensures you are positioned exactly where you need to be for the next stage of your journey. Disobedience can lead to missed opportunities because every instruction from God is tied to a specific purpose and season. When God calls you to act, he is aligning you with his divine timing, opening doors that are meant for that precise moment. Disobedience, whether it stems from fear, doubt, or delay, can cause you to step out of alignment with his plan and miss the blessings, breakthroughs, or assignments he has prepared for you. God's opportunities often come with an expiration date. They are designed to intersect with your life at the right time. But if you hesitate or choose your own way, those moments can pass. Disobedience can also blind you to the very opportunities you've been praying for. As stepping away from his guidance can lead to confusion or distraction. Additionally, missed opportunities due to disobedience can carry long-term consequences, not just for you, but for those around you who are impacted by your choices. God's instructions are not arbitrary. They are meant to position you in the right place with the right people at the right time so that his purpose can unfold through you. When you disobey, it's not just about what you lose. It's also about what you may unintentionally hinder in the lives of others. God's warnings are acts of love because they are his way of protecting, guiding, and redirecting you from paths that could lead to harm, heartbreak, or unnecessary struggle. When he warns you, it's not out of anger or judgment, but out of deep concern for your well-being and destiny. His warnings often come as gentle nudges, strong convictions, or even closed doors, all designed to shield you from decisions or situations that are not aligned with his purpose for your life. They are reminders of his constant presence, showing that he is watching over you and intervening at the right moments to keep you on track. Just as a loving parent warns their child of danger, God's warnings are his way of steering you away from pitfalls you may not yet see or understand. They may challenge your desires or plans, but they ultimately reflect his greater wisdom and eternal perspective. His warnings are not meant to restrict your freedom, but to ensure you experience the fullness of his blessings in the right time and manner. Even when his warnings disrupt your comfort or challenge your understanding, they are rooted in his love, designed to protect your heart, your purpose, and your future. You must see clarity through prayer, because prayer is the bridge that connects your heart to God's wisdom and guidance. When life feels uncertain or when his message seems unclear, prayer becomes the place where confusion is exchanged for understanding. In prayer, you create space to hear his voice, discern his will, and receive the direction you need to move forward. Clarity often requires stillness, a quieting of the noise around you, and a surrendering of your own thoughts and agendas so that God's perspective can take center stage. Through prayer, you invite the Holy Spirit to illuminate the path ahead, helping you distinguish between your desires, the opinions of others, and God's divine plan. Prayer is not just about speaking to God, it's about listening, leaning in to hear the whispers of his guidance that bring peace and confidence. Seeking clarity through prayer also strengthens your faith, reminding you that you don't have to rely solely on your own understanding, but can trust in the wisdom of the one who sees the entire picture. It is in these moments of prayerful seeking that God aligns your heart with his, clears away doubts, and reveals the next steps you are called to take. Timing is key in God's plan because he orchestrates every detail of your life according to a divine schedule that ensures the best outcomes for his purpose and your growth. God is not bound by human clocks or calendars. His timing operates on an eternal scale, perfectly aligning events, people, and circumstances to unfold his will. While you may desire immediate results or answers, God's timing is designed to develop your character, strengthen your faith, and prepare you to handle the blessings or responsibilities he has planned for you. Acting outside of his timing can lead to frustration, missed opportunities, or outcomes that fall short of his perfect design. God's plan is like a tapestry where every thread is woven together in its proper order, creating a masterpiece that can only be fully appreciated when viewed from his perspective. Waiting on his timing requires patience and trust, as it often involves unseen work, doors being prepared, hearts being softened, and situations being shifted, all to bring about his best for you. Even delays, though difficult to endure, are not denials. They are divine pauses meant to ensure that everything aligns in a way that maximizes the impact of his blessings and fulfills his greater purpose. God's revelations bring peace, not fear, because they are rooted in his nature as a loving and compassionate Father who desires to guide and comfort his children. When God reveals something to you, it is not meant to instill anxiety or overwhelm, but to provide clarity, direction, and assurance. His revelations illuminate the path ahead, reminding you that he is in control and that his plans for you are good, filled with hope and purpose. Even when his revelation challenges you to change or confront difficult truth, it is always accompanied by a sense of calm that confirms his presence is with you every step of the way. Fear is not of God, and his revelations are designed to dispel fear, replacing it with confidence in his promises and trust in his wisdom. They often come with a quiet certainty, a deep inner knowing that transcends human understanding and reassures you that you are walking in alignment with his will. God's revelations provide a sense of security because they reveal his care for you, showing that he has already prepared the way and equipped you for what lies ahead. Even in moments when the full picture is unclear, his revelations bring a peace that sustains and strengthens you, reminding you that he is the author of your story and that he will never leave you to navigate it alone. Your obedience can impact others, because every act of faithfulness to God's direction carries the potential to influence lives beyond your own. God often uses individuals as vessels to fulfill his purposes, and your willingness to follow his instructions can create ripple effects that touch the hearts and lives of those around you. When you obey, you position yourself as a channel for God's blessings, not just for yourself, but for your family, your community, and even future generations. Your obedience may lead to someone receiving the encouragement, wisdom, or support they need in a critical moment, as God's work in you becomes an example of his love and faithfulness. Sometimes the actions you take in obedience are the answers to someone else's prayers, serving as a reminder of God's provision and timing. Moreover, your obedience demonstrates a model of faith that others can follow, inspiring them to trust God more fully and step into their own calling. Even when the instructions God gives seem small or insignificant, you never know how he is weaving your choices into a greater plan that will impact countless lives. By choosing obedience, you align yourself with his divine will, allowing him to work through you in ways that extend his grace and truth far beyond what you can imagine. Spiritual sensitivity is crucial because it enables you to recognize God's voice, guidance, and promptings in your daily life. It is the ability to tune into the Holy Spirit and discern the spiritual atmosphere around you, helping you to make decisions that align with God's will. When you're spiritually sensitive, you are not easily swayed by distractions, doubts, or the noise of the world. Instead, you can hear the still small voice of God that leads you to truth and wisdom. This sensitivity is developed through prayer, worship, and time spent in the Word, creating a deeper connection with God that sharpens your ability to sense his presence and direction in every situation. It allows you to act swiftly when God calls you to step out in faith without hesitation or fear. Spiritual sensitivity also enables you to recognize the needs of others, offering encouragement, prayer, or support when the Holy Spirit prompts you. Without this sensitivity, it becomes easy to miss the divine moments and opportunities God places before you. Being spiritually sensitive also equips you to avoid spiritual pitfalls and recognize when you are being led away from God's truth. It allows you to maintain a posture of obedience, ensuring that your actions, words, and choices reflect His purpose and not your own desires. Spiritual sensitivity is not something that can be cultivated overnight. It takes intentionality, humility, and a heart that is fully surrendered to God's will. Ignoring God's voice has consequences, because when you choose to disregard His guidance, you distance yourself from the very wisdom that can protect, strengthen, and elevate you. God speaks to you through His Word, the Holy Spirit, and life circumstances, always offering you direction, correction, and insight. When you ignore His voice, you make a decision to follow your own understanding, which may lead to confusion, frustration, and missteps. These consequences are not always immediate, but they can accumulate over time, impacting not only your life, but the lives of those around you. Disobedience to God's voice can lead to missed opportunities that were specifically designed for you. Opportunities to grow, serve, or walk in the fullness of His blessing. Ignoring His voice also makes it more difficult to hear Him the next time He speaks. Because the more you reject His counsel, the harder your heart can become to His promptings. As a result, you may find yourself in situations where God's intended plan for you becomes obscured, and your journey is filled with unnecessary struggles. His voice is a compass meant to guide you toward peace, purpose, and fulfillment. When you ignore it, you are essentially navigating without direction, relying on your own limited perspective instead of the infinite wisdom of your Creator. Over time, the consequences of ignoring God's voice can lead to a sense of emptiness, regret, and spiritual disconnection that only obedience and a return to listening can heal. Faith requires action, not just belief, because true faith is not passive. It is an active force that compels you to move in alignment with what you believe. It's not enough to simply acknowledge God's promises or agree with His word. Faith demands that you take steps, sometimes bold and uncomfortable, to bring those promises to fruition. When you believe, you are acknowledging God's power and His truth. But when you act on that belief, you demonstrate your trust in Him and His ability to fulfill what He has spoken over your life. Faith that remains only in the mind is incomplete. It must manifest through actions that reflect your trust and confidence in God's will. This means stepping out of your comfort zone, even when the path ahead is unclear or the outcome uncertain. Just like the Israelites had to step into the Jordan River before it parted, or like Peter had to step out of the boat before walking on water, your faith requires a moment of decision. When you trust God enough to move, even when you cannot see the full picture. It's easy to talk about faith, but it is in the doing that faith is proven, refined, and made real. Without action, faith becomes theoretical and impotent. But when you align your actions with your beliefs, you activate the supernatural power of God in your life. Faith requires that you walk in obedience to God's instructions, even when they don't make sense to the world around you. It is not a faith that waits for the perfect conditions, but one that moves forward, trusting that God will provide the strength, wisdom, and resources needed at each step.